So, just to highlight a little bit more what we talked about in section 5 is pricing. So, demand obviously affects that, willingness to pay. And so this is the situation we find ourselves in a lot, is the balance of, well, based on this market, I think I can charge this much for a room on Thursday night. Okay, great. That's sound logic. Now, will my market segment customers pay that rate? So, again, it becomes the struggle to figure out if we have it at the right price. So, when I tell you to make sure that everything is profitable for you and comparing yourself to other competitors in the competitive set, yes. And it is fine to see what they are charging for your hotel room, your hamburger, your beer, whatever the case may be. But we don't know that their costs are the same as ours. So we've got to kind of balance that out with, okay, we have, we're charging $2.99 and they're charging $2.79. And we understand that we're $20 more. We think we have a product that's worth $20 more. But what is the perceived value going to be with that difference in price? So again, depending on the market segment, that's going to help you answer that as to why or why not they will. Okay. And so like we talked about those costs and everything that goes into it, that the guest doesn't care about. Let's just be honest. But we have to care about because it determines profitability. For me to say to a guest, oh, we have to do that because, our credit card fees are so exorbitant, or, that you don't understand what it takes to clean a room. You're right. They don't, and they don't care. They know the price they have to pay. And for what they got, they didn't feel like that was the price they should have paid. So, it's always the balancing act of, okay, well, I understand this is the fee for the room tonight. This is the charge. And I've got to make sure that the market segment understands and perceives that as the right, fair price. So negotiating price is, again, something you can work on. And sometimes you have a lot of flexibility with that as a consumer. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes as a revenue manager and a person running the property, you have some flexibility. Sometimes you don't. But we've talked about this before. An empty hotel room can't be sold the next day. So there may be some wiggle room in there depending on occupancy rates, the markets, economy, all kinds of other factors internally and externally where you say, okay, I'm going to negotiate price with somebody right now and see exactly what's going on to just try to get people inside of a room, because that's more important. Price fencing, allowing you to see who sees discounts, right? If you're not price sensitive and you don't care about a discount, well, no offense, I don't want to give you one. And I don't want to let you know that I offer one. And I know a lot of us are going, and who wouldn't want to take advantage of that? Again, knowing the market segment. For somebody to look at a presidential suite in South Beach that is $10,000 a night and not bat an eye, they don't care about discounts. As a matter of fact, and this sounds silly to say, they may be turned off by discounts. So again, understanding that while that's probably not the crux of people that stay at our property, it's still a market segment. And it's still a market segment I can appeal to. I've had the privilege of touring some properties, and I won't call them out by name, but I was able to tour the presidential suite of a property in Miami that goes for about $25,000 a night. And it's basically this phenomenal apartment on top of a hotel with just, the most amazing views you've ever seen. And it's just sitting there and you think to yourself, who can afford $25,000 a night? And I think on average that room is being used about 320 days out of the year. Trying to tell somebody in that room they're getting a discount, they're not going to book it. I mean, and for us to have a room like that, it might take 100 of us just to be able to afford to stay in that room. Oh, we can all afford it, but there's going to be 100 people in the room, but I mean, but that is a segment. And so looking at that segment and saying, okay, we need to make sure that this is how we approach market and give them perceived value. It's a great value for them, which is, again, good problem to have, I guess. But you can kind of see these different things that you can do to work that into where, things that can happen and restrictions that you can put on that. That's completely up to you. So, but the more you do that, the better you are. Like, membership to a specific group. Probably going to be a preferred member of our chain or our individual property, right? And how does that help us? Let's go back to marketing. Now we have data. Now we can control that information. We can figure out exactly who's taking advantage of this, and we can build that repeat business. Deposits, no cancellations. You have to stay one weekend night, or you have to stay a minimum of 3 days or 4 days, or whatever the case may be. So those restrictions just depend on individual properties and sometimes corporate policies that are set. So it's clearly stated. The market segment knows exactly what's going on. So, I can tell you that I've probably mentioned that I have a child that plays soccer, and there's a big tournament in Orlando that Disney sponsors, and all the hotels there require a minimum of 2-night stay. So if your child plays, the first 2 days and doesn't make the finals, you're going to spend the night, even though, I guess you could turn around and come back home if you wanted to, but you're not going to be able to get that money refunded. You're not going to be able to walk up to the hotel and say, hey, listen, it just so happens that my daughter didn't make the finals and we're not playing tomorrow, so we just want to leave. You're like, that's cool. You still owe us for tonight. So that's something, when you're dealing with large groups like that, a lot of times that is a requirement. And, it does make sense because, it's things that you can control, and it's a restriction that you can put on there. And in the case of that tournament, it's thousands of teams. So why not get that guaranteed revenue? And anybody that does travel sports knows that's the deal. So you can be as upset as you want, but that's just the game. That's how it works. And hotels understand that as well. So, in the case of if it happens to us and we live so close, we just come home. I'd rather sleep in my bed than a hotel. But the hotel's like, thank you very much for your money. We appreciate it.